Welcome back to Betoota Talks, our weekly podcast where we interview Australians of note, contributors to the letters, the arts, and of course our wider culture, particularly sport. I'm Clancy Overall. I'm joined by Wendell Hussey and everyone with me now. A Wimmowe, a Wimmowe, a Wimmowe. Sorry, I've just got that Lions fever.
Yep, he's caught it. He's gone down. Yes, Clancy, it's an exciting time. We're on the eve of the first test, and it's probably worth flagging for the listeners. By the time this is in their ear holes, we could have made some predictions that'll make us all look a bit silly.
Yeah.
The first test will be run and done.
Yeah. But
we're going to talk generally Lions, and we're going to talk footy. We're going to talk about all of that sort of stuff with Michael Hooper, former Wallabies captain, Waratahs captain, man who's done it all, and he's played in a Lions test in the forwards and in the backs as well, which we'll probably discuss at some point.
Versatile.
Michael, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. Pumped.
Now, the rivalries across codes in Australia is something that'll go on forever, and it's a part of life, and we all love it. We love the sledging between leagueies and union and the Victorian leg tennis people and us northerners up here. The leagueies this time around, of course, love to go on about, like, you know, who cares about the Lions? We've got international rugby league where they play a couple of games against New Zealand and Tonga and Samoa, and Australia tends to pump them every time.
An emerging Pacific force
in
international rugby league, which of course has affected Australia's national side in the rugby league because everyone's going back to Tonga.
One of the things that I think the NRL feels truly threatened by is the international aspect of rugby union. We've got a Lions tour coming down. I think it's 100,000 Poms and Irishmen and Scots coming down under to party it up. How big does it feel in the lead up to a Lions series for the players?
For the players, I think it's unavoidable this time around, more so than ever because of socials.
Yeah.
So you're seeing so much. You saw, 3 weeks before the Lions, they're getting in camp, and the players would have seen that. Whereas 2013, when I was involved, that level of access wasn't there, and that push on social media. So you're aware of it coming, but it was a June test series that you got to think back when it was done in 2013 and different to 2001 even. So, 24 years in that space. 2013, we were doing midway through a super season. You play 3 tests and then had to go back and play some more super games the week after you played a Lions test. So it was upon you before you knew it, and then it was gone.
How much did you play in that? Were you Tahs or Wallabies by then?
I debuted the year before for the Wallabies, so 2012. So this was my second year in the Wallabies at that point, and I'd moved from the Brumbies to the Tahs. So Tahs was my first season, 2013.
So that's a fair bit of output for. How many? How many matches are you playing in a week? Then it's almost 3 in a week.
No, you were never playing 3 in a week. You would do your super, and then we actually had a bit of a miss, miss maybe 2 or 1 super game, to go into camp and prepare for the Lions, and then it was just 1 a week.
Yeah.
So the Lions, what's so unique about it is they've played they've played 5 games already, maybe even more around
6,
that.
I think
6 games. You just don't see tours like they do anymore. The midweek games, the Wallabies used to do that going up to the UK for spring tours, but you just don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So what they've had to do is quite a good throwback to what tours used to be like. You see just where the modern game is. There's people dropping like flies all the time. So it's a hard balance.
So I guess the whole concept of the Lions, which people who aren't familiar with rugby union or the Lions are kind of confused by the Irish playing with the Scots and everything like that. But I feel like it must date back to before, the Irish independence, it dates back to when they would arrive on ship, right?
The 1800s.
The Irish independence was 1916. Sorry. So they were all, at one point, British Isles. So that's where it dates back to. But the tour is, as you said before, it's very much a throwback to when they would get on a ship and come to a continent and make it worth it.
Play everyone.
Yeah.
And stay here for a long time. And they still do, really. Like, it ends up being nearly 2 months. I think they're down here. And the fans have a good time. I've seen a lot on social media. There was one guy this week who was this old English fella who was filthy that he'd been billeted up in Noosa. I don't know if you saw him.
No.
Everyone's in Brisbane partying on and he's stuck up in Noosa. And so he's trying to find other Lions fans around to get around it before heading down. Yeah.
I love
that's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, hard
Noosa.
work.
Oh,
Yeah.
I feel sorry for him. Yeah.
The Venn diagram, and there's a few people that had to choose, really. Like, you've got everything clear, and you've got the cash to come to Australia for as long as the footballers are here. You definitely had enough money to get Oasis tickets back in England. So there's a Venn diagram of people who had to choose, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Spewing.
How does it feel in terms of like comparing to a World Cup? Lions Tour, it obviously only happens every 12 years or 13 years
in
here in Australia.
our country, every
in
4
Australia.
years. Yeah, but for Australia, 12. Yeah.
Does it feel as special as a World Cup? Is it different to a World Cup? Bigger?
I think a World Cup's bigger. I think the chance to hold up the Webb Ellis Trophy is the pinnacle of our game. Yeah. But this is a tournament that some amazing legacy players don't play. So Nathan Sharp never played the Lions, for example. Right. Like captain of the Wallabies, over 100 tests, doesn't play the Lions. So 2000, I think debuted 2002. He won a Bledisloe, so he was lucky enough to get that. And then retires 2012. So either side of the start and end of his career, he misses out. So that's the unique side of it. I was lucky to play in one, but you don't realise the magnitude till you're on the outside. Like, you see the Lions, and I had a mate who had a Bucks party down in Adelaide for the game on the weekend, and he had a bunch of Pommy mates, and it was the guy that was getting married, or the Buck was a Pommy. And everyone in a red jersey, when they'd see each other, they'd just start going, Lions, Lions, they don't even know each other. They start that chant, and everyone just carries on and gets into it. They said it was good value, but, it's just so different. Yeah.
I suppose also you're in your 20s when you played, right? So everything's new and big to you as like a young player. Right? You don't get to have the same perspective as you would on a Lions tour now as a grown man being like, okay, this is a pretty big deal. A lot of money's gone into this, and there's a lot of hotels being booked, and you wouldn't think of that. I guess like every day is another day. I don't know, like Super Rugby in that era. Could feel just as big as a fucking international tour when it was fucking hot. I remember 2011 Reds was just fucking crazy. That was bigger. I would have, in terms of remembering eras, I do remember that more than I remember the last Lions tour. And I think a lot of Queenslanders would feel the same.
Quade with the crossfield kicks in his own in goal to Digby, the backflips.
The Dougie, the caterpillars, the breakdancing, Radiki,
Oh, yeah.
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 That was... there's eras, right? But I guess the Lions tour presents that. It's like locked in. That's happening. They're coming.
What's been cool with this one, and unfortunate for South Africa, but that's not our problem, but they had COVID. So 4 years ago, they had this COVID line series, which, people from the UK just go, well, we're not going to go down there. It's not going to be a lot. So they get their cash back there and just put the deposit straight on coming out to Australia. So Perth, maybe 2.5 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, over there for the first game against WA. And there's, Lions fans in the lift at the hotel we're staying at, and they're like, how you going? How long are you out for? They're out for 6 weeks. This is something they've been dreaming of, to go and watch all the codes, go through the country, see all the spots, and then watch rugby and be a part of this buzz. So this is life, bucket list stuff for people over in the UK.
I'm interested in that, the kind of rugby fandom elsewhere in the world. You spend a lot of time in Sydney now, and you're familiar with the fact that Sydney has one of the most crowded sporting markets in the world. We've got that many NRL teams. You've got 2 AFL teams. You've got the Tahs, you've got the Brumbies not far away too. But then I'm sure with your football, you've travelled to places where you're one of the, 30 people in town that is technically famous to them, is a star, you know what I mean? If you're from a rugby town in England or Ireland, some of those Irish towns, they'd bail you up a lot more.
It's funny the different sort of perspectives you get from the different countries. So you go to New Zealand, and they obviously love their footy. And that's not anything too thrilling. It's 3 hours away. But the comments are along the lines of, oh, good luck, mate. You'll need it. That. And you're like, oh, mate, please, like, just not today. And then you go over, and then the Scots are very much like, oh, you guys have got us. I can't do the accent, but you guys have got us covered. We're not, and play it down because they hope that they won't, and then you go to the English and they're just going to tell you they flog you. Yeah. But no, certainly in the UK is the epicenter of rugby, and you see, I didn't obviously wasn't at the Paris or the France 2023 World Cup, but apparently that was just on steroids. That thing over there was amazing, the buzz, the energy, and that's the epicenter of the our code in the world.
Really,
South
Africa.
Africa.
Feel it there? You'd feel it there as like that. This is purely rugby here. Like you feel that more.
No, I wouldn't go that far. Like London and those places, such big cities, and they support. There's so many
teams,
people. Yeah, that's right. So no, I wouldn't say you're just dodging and weaving.
Where are they most rugby mad? Is it Japan or South Africa or?
South Africa's strong, and particularly at the moment, right? Like they're just on top of the world. Argentina, they love their footy, even though they're such a football and I say soccer. Supporting nation. I mean, they love their rugby at the moment.
Yeah. Well, Diego Maradona, the greatest footballer of all time, which some people might debate, but they'd be wrong. He loved the Pumas, right? Like he'd always be trying to get to the Pumas games. He'd be wearing the jersey. They obviously paid tribute to him when he passed. They go nuts for it. I feel like in Japan, there's not the largest section of the population that loves footy, but the ones that do are like fanatical, right? Like I was over there for the World Cup in 2019, and it was like people were so excited. I'd imagine meeting someone like you over there, they would be almost starstruck and unable to speak, some of the footy fans. Some of the number 10s are, right? So I didn't play. I played at the same club as Bowden Barrett, but he just, he struggled to get around allegedly. So, guys like that, Richie Mo'unga, and then they've got some big South African players there. But no, I'm all right. When I lived up there, I just lived in a little place outside of Nagoya, so I wasn't in the big smoke. But no, they love it, and they really respect the game and the combative nature of it. So no, they get around it.
Interesting culture they have. I remember leading into that World Cup, where you'd hear yarns about people from World Rugby having to come over and kind of mentor the Japanese into how the corporate side of the game, in terms of, you can have corporate boxes here that people pay for and stuff because it's kind of open. And a lot of the venues have free tickets.
Is that right?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot, like they're not looking to, it's not a commercial game and it's not the same business model for rugby. If you've got like a company owns the team, and then it's BYO in the stadium, and people can, in many instances, just arrive. It's like everything with Japan when they've just kind of got their own Japanese spin on it, like the wrestling or the jazz music. It's just like they've got their own way of doing rugby.
It's a really special place, man. I love the place, and the rugby is different because you're Toyota or you're Panasonic, and it's a company initiative to have this team. It's just how much does this, how much does this company want to do well, and it's a pride thing over there. So, Panasonic wants to beat Toshiba, and we want to beat, Toyota wanted to beat, another car company and that sort of thing. So, but it is a great place, and it actually is, the competition's just getting better and better. So I played there 2021, just finished there this year. The level is going up there. Right. How they get the balance right of local and foreigners is the challenge, but it is an awesome place to play and a great culture.
I remember as a fan walking out of the stadium being like clapped out of the stadium by all the volunteers organising the World Cup. That was certainly an interesting feeling.
You did your job well.
Yeah,
you did a great job.
Thank you. We supported very well. Well done.
I love that. I also love the eccentricities of everyone in Japan deciding they're going to go now and support whatever team they decide to support. You get couples supporting two different teams just for the fun of rugby.
At the Wales game, there were lots of people who brought leeks because apparently in Japan they're Welsh onions. That's what they're called. So there were heaps of fans there with these giant leeks and the Welsh jerseys on and the face paint. And they're like, he decided to go for Wallabies and I'm going for the Welsh onions.
Yeah, I wiped that game from my memory, so I must miss that.
Fair enough. You're talking about like the comments different cultures make to you. I wanted to ask a little bit about motivation. Michael Checo, your coach for a long time, was obviously the master of motivation, and there'd be lots of stuff up on the whiteboard. Leading into this Lions series, there feels like there's a lot of there's a strong sense of security from the touring party. Young Henry Pollock, who Aussie fans are starting to learn about now, he does a pulse check celebration after he scores a try. I think he's 20. He's very confident. and I'm sure he'll draw the ire of
Almost like an American confidence.
big time. He's definitely he gets around it, and his main character energy. He was saying this week that it'll be 3-0. And he's pretty confident that, the Lions will run through the Wallabies 3-0. I know Ben Youngs, English footy player, last year on a podcast was talking about he's not even going to give a prediction for that Wallabies game, the famous Wallabies win at Twickenham last year, because it was just a formality that England would win. How much do those comments motivate a playing group, and how much do they get spoken about?
I mean, depending on coach, depending on players. Look, I think they're a great little sugar hit of energy. They're not going to be the thing that makes you win the game, but are they a thing that you can poke players in the team just to try a little bit harder, maybe do a bit more, preparation, study on the computers, get over their role, maybe lean into each other a bit more on a Tuesday training because they know they're going to really want to lean into the players on the weekend. Yeah, that stuff's great. So you can plant that up around the team room. I mean, but that isn't the foundation of what's going to win you the game, obviously. It is a nice sugar hit, though, and those comments, you can certainly use.
You can get through 3 Origin matches on sugar hits, right?
That's all Queensland does.
You don't need to really think too much about the game plan. You can take offence at what you choose to be offended by, and, at the end of the day, it's only 160 minutes that you need to be on. This is different, I guess, and it's not sustainable when you're playing in the national side long term to kind of riz the guys up and then get them to feel this way about a certain match, because what are they going to feel the next match? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you can be running out full of energy and full of steam, and then something happens and 3 points gets put on you.
Yeah.
Then they get maybe a turnover, loose try, then you're 10-0 down. So what do you do then? The sugar hit's not going to get you through. So that's the technical part of the game that you have to then, that's your foundation. That's what's going to keep you in it. That's what's going to keep you alive. But no, sugar hits are great. And you mentioned Michael Cheika. He is, there's no one that comes close to him in terms of being able to grab a team by the scruff, and he's just done it in the UK again. He got through to the final, lost to Bath in the final, who's Finn Russell's team. So he's done it with multiple teams over the world, and traditionally with teams that haven't gone so well, and he just can turn them around. And his ability to give a group of men and women a direction to go forward, he is amazing at that.
What are some of the weirder motivation tactics that he's rolled out, or more eyebrow-raising ones?
Oh, I don't know about weird. No, not weird ones. It's just the way that he would go about things, like we had a campfire once, and, it was like write something on it and throw it in there and, burn it and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
He had it's been talked about a lot back in the final at the stadium out there. I don't know what it even's called now. Allianz. Accor out at Homebush.
Olympic Park.
Olympic Park. When we got over the Crusaders quite a few years ago now, was let the club go. And he brought us all in a golf club and named the golf club and gave the golf club out. And he goes, boys, nothing else. You just let the club go. Meaning the theme being don't fear losing. Yeah. Just go out there and play to win. And, that sort of stuff, but does it in a way that just grabs you and you'd run through a brick wall for the bloke.
Yeah.
It's very impressive that he's managed to keep doing that over time. Like, he hasn't lost his touch over a couple of decades, really, that he's kind of been involved in coaching. Was there a story about him and like a kidnapping in a van? Was that some part of some training camp where he...
Oh, yeah. So, no, there was... Yeah. So pretty much what he had leading into 2015 World Cup is you got a text on your phone, we're going into camp. So Super Rugby season's finished. He's named a squad, going into camp for the Rugby Championship. Yeah. So before the World Cup squad's named. And you get a text on your phone saying, you should not tell anyone this, but be here at the front of the hotel at this time. And you just start seeing players look at their phone and be like, so you weren't meant to tell anyone. And then anyway, so you go out the front of the hotel at your allotted time, the car picked you up, took you around, it was blacked out, whatever, and the only instruction from the driver was go into this door. It was like a rugby clubhouse, but it was all blacked out. And he had gotten a former intelligence guy to come in and interrogate you. So you walk into this room and then starts asking you questions. The first question, did you tell anyone about this text? And obviously everyone's talked about the text because you go, what the hell? And you just put back straight away. And then it was asking you about, things that you would do and your motivations and all that. And then you got back in the car and went home and just like, what the hell just happened? But it all had the level of detail and thought that Czech and his crew would put in wasn't just, we'll do this and then let it go.
Yeah.
Like he would tail back to this stuff, all the way through to when we got to the World Cup final that year. And, so he was very measured and, his approach is really, really cool.
It's an interesting, skill, man management, and it's only really been taken seriously in the last 10, 20 years. You see it across the board, and Australians tend to be good at it. We've got a couple, we've got one in each coach. Czech's probably one of those ones that you'd look to in rugby union. And then you got Ange, you got Ange and Wayne Bennett in the NRL. A big part of it is understanding the different levers in a group of men, like what to pull, and a group of women as well. But there's also the cultural sensitivities now, and you would have seen the game change a lot. Since you first started playing football, the demographics of Australia changed. So you kind of had this Pacific revolution coming through our ranks, and it's very important how those coaches respond to cultural sensitivities with young Islander players or young kids who haven't grown up the same way as the coach. And Wayne Bennett always figured that out, and I think Ange is really good at that too. And I imagine Czech's, given Randwick and his ties to La Perouse and being a young Lebanese guy, kind of was able to coach each player individually. Was that what you felt?
Yeah, I mean, take away ethnicity and everything. Yeah. I think one of Czech's, foundational things is he talks about being able to have a champagne with the Queen or a VB with the guy at the worksite, and he lives that.
Yeah,
and it's not a token thing that he says because I want to please. No, he actually can be on all levels, and I think that's one of the real genuine things about Michael is he's able to get across that. Now he rubs people the wrong way, but he rubs people in the wrong way in the chase of high performance.
Yeah.
And you talk about different ethnicities. It is really hard. It's even really hard with people of the same ethnicity, because my motivation might be different to yours, and how he gets you to play your best is different. How he gets me to play my best. I mean,
also disciplining people differently as well. Yeah, right. There's certain cultures where it's there's a lot of shame in being spoken to that way by an elder. There's you've got to be careful of all that.
There is, and I think what good coaches do, and what I've seen do, is you've got this group of different people, different backgrounds, but the team is its own ethnicity, its own background, its own culture, its own way of doing things. That if we're going to come together and try and be a high performing group, that we've got to buy into, and there's got to be a level of sacrifice. That doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater and you just let it all go. But when you come in, if they're providing their good, healthy and high performing traits and standards, that everyone's got to buy into.
Yeah.
And you don't have too many. You don't need too many. They're not rules. They're just sort of things that you can pull each other up on. But you got to leave some of the stuff at the door. Yeah. And I think that's what Michael's able to do when his teams are successful. And Michael hasn't always been successful as well. So I think one of the cool things you mentioned about it is he's growing and he's always in that pursuit. I would love to see him in, he had a crack at some league jobs. Like if he got a league job and then did well, like that just makes him not like a coach. That makes him, like you talk about, a man manager. It just elevates him again. So I'd love to see him put on that challenge, but I think he would love to get to a World Cup with a tier 1 team.
Now, Joel Stransky, I think it was, or maybe Francis Pinoir, one of those 95 Springboks, the way they described that final was, the 1995 World Cup final was to be endured, not enjoyed. And I've never stopped thinking about that ever since I heard that. And there is this feeling quite often from fans that these guys are having the time of their lives out there. Can you relate to that? Can you relate to that? Actually, I just need to get through 80 minutes right now.
I think at different points in my career would probably, so you talk about Henry Pollock. I think he's at that time where it's just, sunshine and rainbows. Like how good is this? I'm playing on a big stage and I'm getting to throw the footy around. And then at times things don't go so well. So how, you got to, roll the sleeves up and get to work and, the team's not performing how you want. You're not performing how you want. And that's more the enduring part. And I think, you talk about people young in their career. it comes pretty easy early on. Like you're just thinking, geez, all I got to do is just run out and I train hard every day. But then you start getting older, then injuries kick in, then life starts kicking in.
Yeah.
Then people start taking note of who you are. It gets harder and harder. Your motivations change, all that sort of stuff. So enduring becomes a career thing.
Yeah.
But to the point about the game, enduring, 80 minutes of league union is hard.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it fun
Yeah.
in a weird way. So when it's hard and the bigger the game, the more you're testing yourself, that's the fun.
I would love to know about how hard the game against the Lions was, or how fun it was, because you were at the point in your career where you'd establish yourself pretty quickly and were right at the top of the game, really. But in that one of those games against the Lions in 2013, there were a number of injuries to the back line, and you found yourself moved from 7, I think it was, to 13? 12. That's right. Inside centre, which, a lot of park footy players go, oh, yeah, you're somewhere in the middle. It's not too hard. But when you're at that level and there's all the different patterns and shapes and things you need to know and lines you need to be running, how did you find yourself through that game going, I'm in a completely different position? Do you just get through 80 minutes? Because you can't really throw yourself around too much.
You endured.
Did you just endure that game?
I'd love to have another shot at that game, because I think with experience becomes just a level of understanding of what could have been done at that time. I had this sort of level of confidence. So like, no, I'll kill it. Like, put me there, I've got it. Yeah. But then there's nuance to the centre pairing that I just was well out of my depth. You got to think the last time I played was, I think I was 18. I played inside centre for Manly. I probably had 10 carries and 0 passes. So that was I was crash balls, 12. So I don't think we didn't play too expansive in that moment. I think I let in a try as well by just going, I'm going to smoke this bloke. They ran a pretty simple play and I went for the wrong guy, and they sort of Cuthbert, who was a Welsh winger at the time, go through for a try. So it wasn't perfect, but you do what you can. And I was, it's probably good that I was young, because you go, I've got this. Then when you're old, you go, oh, do I want to?
In that exact moment, when actually, they've had me here, they've played me. Does it all make sense in one moment, or are you shocked, or what I mean? Like someone, when you've been had, right? Cuthbert slips past, and actually these guys are all over me. Do you figure out what they're up to in that moment, or you think, or you're more just in shock?
Or are you just resetting and going?
I think
again?
you're more swearing in your head, and then you're running back, going, okay, I got greedy there.
Yeah,
don't do it again.
Yeah.
And then I think when you I didn't have the best series that series. I didn't play that well, and I had a really good super season to that point. I probably didn't play how I wanted to in that series. But when you're young, you just don't even think about it. Yeah. Like you're just thinking about what's the next thing. And I think, I was lucky to have that at that point, that, okay, well, I stuffed that up, but what's my next involvement,
Do you guys have cordials with the Lions boys at the end of the tour? Is there any kind of camaraderie before the end of the tour?
No, not before the end of the tour. We had a function post at the Opera House after, but we were sour because we lost. So, it's the last place you want to be hanging out with. If you beat them, you're best mates.
Did you beat them in the boat race at least?
No, there was no boat race, mate. Can you imagine? That would have been good though, wouldn't it? Boat race in the Opera House. That would have been a good story. Yeah.
Have tours changed a lot over your career? They still would have been fairly loose, I imagine, early and mid 2000s, right? Are they still loose?
Yeah, my dad credits me with learning how to drink beer when I made the Wallabies. Maybe because before that you're drinking, the stuff that you drink when you're 18, 19.
UDLs.
Smirnoff double blacks. No. So I think it has changed, and it's changed because of the demand is just higher. You're playing roughly 30-odd games a year. So you go and end yourself after a game on a Saturday. It's your recovery time just becomes much longer, and that might, when you're young, not accumulate for 4 to 5 weeks, but that 6 week, you're gonna fall ill or all that sort of stuff, or you're traveling. And I'm not saying that through the mid 2000s stuff, the games they weren't playing as many games or they weren't as hard or anything. That's not. But the game's demands are just a little bit different now, and I think you just can't compete at the highest level if you want to be the best team. If you're doing that week to week, you'll be there. You'll win some games, but it's going to be difficult.
You were in that era when everyone across basically all professional sport in Australia, we're like, okay, now these people are behaving like professional athletes. You know what I mean? When we first saw David Pocock's, like, you know, Western Force early in his career, and all of a sudden you see a bloke who looks like that playing football. We'd never seen that before. We'd never seen someone that stacked, like, to the point where I'm sure if he could, you know, do his time again, he probably would have not carried that much weight, you know, because it
Mate, we might not see someone as stacked again. The guy was an animal.
Yeah, but it was like that. You know, all of a sudden Melbourne Storm's got wrestling coaches, and you've got, you know, as you say, like Checkers brand of serious coaching and that kind of stuff. There was a bit of lager and, you know, back in the day, there was a fair bit of like lager and Skittles about it all too. You know what I mean? I mean, people don't like to envision that Bledisloe winning side and, you know, those World Cup winning sides as like a bunch of proper pissheads, but there's a fair bit going on, and they'll tell you that too.
Yeah, they will tell you that, and it's probably a part of their strength too, because they played hard for each other. Now there's an element of the game, like we know, like that you got to bond on a certain level, and there's an element where, you know, a rugby team, it still dates back to, you know, getting on the beers together is a great way to do it within reason and at the right times, and that's the trick. You know, like there used to be you know, you heard the lock-in. All right, so the lock-in's just like, okay, things aren't going well, boys. We need to lock in and we need to clear the fridge. Like that was the way you used to solve problems. Now it's like that's just going to be a train wreck.
Yeah, lock-ins
mask problems.
Lock-ins work okay when you're beating Kiwi PE teachers and plumbers 30 years ago, but not so much now. Speaking of recovery that you just mentioned there, that is a little venture you've found yourself involved in after footy. You're obviously doing a lot of stuff with Stan. I think you go on the Sevens tour a bit as well, but recovery, RCVRI.
No vowels.
No vowels, yeah. They've got a very nice logo. Clancy and I have been in there actually when we've been in Sydney a couple of times. Very nice joint in Martin Place.
Great way to wrap up ice bath.
Yeah, absolutely. Bit of sauna, sweat it out, all the nasties. You got I think there's one in Manly, there's one in Coogee as well. How did you get involved in that?
Yeah, so there's Cronulla, Coogee, Manly. Coogee was the first, and now there's one in the CBD. So how did I get in that? Steve Hoyles and two of his mates. So Steve Hoyles, former Wallaby, former Brumby captain. He was a gym owner, F45s, Anytime Fitness down south as well. Had a space and went over to the 2019 World Cup over there, and onsens obviously is just their you know, tradition. It's part of the culture over there. He goes, why isn't something like this happening in Australia? So he puts one in next to his F45 in Coogee there, and COVID hit. And the funny thing about COVID, which you'd think, oh my God, what a terrible time to start a business like that, is everyone started getting more conscious about health and more conscious about what a sauna or ice bath and everything and proper recovery can do for you, not only physically as an athlete or whatever, but also mentally or you know, an older or younger person trying to do whatever. And saw a great interest in it go from there. So, I mean, there's been huge appetite in Coogee, which then spread to Manly was going to be the next one, which is my involvement where I came in and helped the guys sort of have a look through Manly, and then Cronulla ended up getting up before Manly, just the way these things work. And now there's CBD, which you mentioned, open up this year, and we're now in Toronto. We've opened a site up there and trying to get into LA, but again, it's almost like you know, sometimes approvals just take some time.
Yeah. Of course, and in different countries. Did you find, and it's funny, the ice baths have obviously become, as you said, since COVID, become very popular. But the first time anyone ever saw anything like this was usually when we'd see footballers in the change rooms after a match, and they're in a tub full of ice. It was something. It was actually very much isolated to professional athletes. Did you find that kind of stuff helps when you finish a match? You know, aside from all the deep heat and all the massage and strapping. Would you do that? Would you get into a tub straight after a match?
Mate, I did not for a long time in my career. Yeah. So I was lucky. I was pretty resilient, and I figured don't change. It's not broke. So I didn't for a long time. Then I got older as an athlete, and I'm like, well, I need to start. If I want to keep training the way I want to train and play, then I need to change how I'm doing things. So I started doing it a lot more, and funnily enough, as these things, then you enjoy it more, then you need it more, and it's sort of self-fulfilling in that sense. But no, it was now everyone likes doing it, and the mix of the two is the right way to go. But I think they're great. I think they have a lot of value for everyone.
What would you do now to keep fit? Like, I think you have full permission to blow out, obviously, after a career as long as you've had. A lot of guys used to back in the day. We say, like, football, the moment they retire, it's just meat pies and beer and they fucking blow out. And then then they get fit again. Matt Dunning, he's a very impressive bloke. He's kind of reined it all back in. How do you keep fit now?
I train with... it's a mix of everything. Yeah. I mean, the lucky thing about a footballer, mate, is like it covers so many bases for you. Like you turn up, your mates are there.
Yeah.
Now I actually have to text my mates and organise meeting up with them. You turn up at training, you train and get fit. They also feed you, which is this remarkable thing. Like they have lunch. So you get fed the right things, you train, so you're keeping off weight and you don't even think you're doing these things. You've got a goal that's there for you because you're trying to win games or be the best player you can be. You're getting paid. So all these boxes are ticked for you. So then you finish, you're kicked off the WhatsApp, you got to start texting your own mates, you got to stay fit on your own watch, and then you're like, what the hell am I going to do? So it's this really funky period, and that's why you probably see with any transition athlete or not, it's difficult because you sort of just these things come to you. So to answer your question, I'm lucky in the sense that I've got a few hobbies that keep me fit. 2 little kids that I've got to chase after. But I'm also young. Like I didn't finish too late. So, I want to keep active. And that was one of the big carrots of finishing a bit earlier than some was I didn't want to completely bury myself.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned you are finished up, but there's rumours swirling around. There's 2 potential rugby competitions that are launching over the next little while. There's a IPL-style sevens tournament apparently going to get set up in India with the different sevens players going across to all of these franchises for a short period of time. But then there's also rumours of, I think it's called R360, which is a Saudi-backed group who want to basically set up these glamour franchises around the world. And obviously the way Saudis do sport, they'll be pumping a lot of money into it. There's rumours Roger Tuivasa-Sheck has been offered $1 million to go over there, which they say eye-watering. I don't think it's that eye-watering. Like Roger.
But how big's the season? That's the question.
Well, they don't quite know.
Is it like $1 million for 4 matches?
It looks like it's going to run over the international season. So they're potentially threatening. The English have said if it goes over the international season, you will not be able to play for the English team for that period of time, obviously, like you're out. I think a lot of other...
Australia will follow suit on that.
Yeah, they'll have to because otherwise we'll lose a lot of players to this. And who knows if it gets up, who knows how much... how many teams there are and how many players they go after. I'm sure Kalen Ponga's agent will have heard some whispers about whether about whether he might be involved in that. What would be the figure for Michael Hooper to head over to the Riyadh Devils or whatever?
Well, I was at the boxing last night and I was with a mate and you do the hypotheticals like how much? I'm like, there is no amount of money to get my head beaten in more than it already has. So look, I've had a good run.
Yeah.
And the juice isn't worth the squeeze anymore. Yeah. To a point. I mean, are you talking Cam Smith live golf money? Because then you could lace up, right? I'm willing to be challenged on the whole thing because you say like, rugby's strength is its national pride and its history and the years of history and how far it dates back. But so did PGA. Yeah. And then Liv comes in. Yeah. So I don't know what to think about all this stuff. Yeah. And
Liv, they did it fast, didn't they? They established a brand and there's people that now go to Adelaide and that's their thing to do. You'd think it'd been around 10 years longer than it has.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like, no, this won't work because you're gonna, players who want to play for the Wallabies aren't gonna go. But then all of a sudden, Cam Smith goes to Liv, and all the other, some other big dogs go to leave PGA with the intent of never getting to get a Masters. Now they can all play Masters. So like that is disruption. Disruption is good, but the thing that with these games is you just hope it's all with the purpose to, see the game, see more participation in the game, have more kids and boys and girls playing and eyeballs on it and feed this big engine, not like, rugby's very good at chewing each other and headbutting each other. It'd be good to see some.
You've had all the different
alignment.
laws over the years. You had the Giddo rule. You've had the honey badger rule. Like you've had to have these existential moments every time something like this happens, right? Were there any rumours when you were playing? Like this Indian one I've been hearing about for 10 years, I feel like.
Apparently it's gathering steam and they're just focusing on sevens, which I'm curious about.
Because when that IPL became real for the cricketers, it would have been, it has been absolutely life-changing money. Who knows how much some of those guys are. We don't even really talk.
What was it, a ball that Paddy Cummings was getting one year? It was like tens of thousands of dollars a ball, a delivery. Hats off to you. Like,
Cam Green as well.
Yeah. That was
big coin. I am genuinely curious as well about how big the fan base is in India, because obviously they'll be pumping money into that sevens tournament. Sri Lanka, they go mad for it.
Yeah.
I think Sri Lanka's like
highest
membership
rate.
Per
capita.
Yeah.
You start thinking about the numbers, right? So you can get 1% viewership of a country with billions of people. It's not bad viewership.
Not at all.
So, just because sheer scale, that's what they're going for.
Cricket, the whole T20 World Cup being in America was an interesting one, because the Indian Americans, so like Indian migrants to America, make up such a vast number of cricket fans domestically in the US that it's worth those ratings of all of them tuning in Dallas and San Fran and New York. So when you think about that, but in India, imagine if you can tap, as you said, 1% of 2 billion people.
Who are
if 10 million still?
Yeah. If you're getting pulled into a team overseas, who would you say are a couple of the best characters and the most fun to play in a team with that aren't Aussies?
Aren't Aussies. I don't know. Like, because you're just so in your own world. I had good fun with Aaron Smith, like up in Toyota just now. Willie LaRue's a top fella. He's good fun. Because I played up with these guys in Toyota. I'm just trying to think of some top line players that were still playing here. I remember on our debut spring tour, I actually had a few beers with Bowden Barrett before he came the 2 times World Player of the Year, and he was a different cat. So, I don't know. I think any team you get involved with can have some good characters.
Have you known a lot of these guys? Like I've been mates over the years who played different kind of levels of football. But with rugby, you'll end up at like an exhibition in your teenage years, right? You'll meet these guys. Do you follow that your careers, like from the schoolboy era, often, following each other?
20s is the biggest one.
Yeah.
So Aussie 20s, who are actually playing over in Italy at the moment, but we played the Kiwis. I don't know what they're called, but we're Australian under 20s. We're playing them at the World Cup, and that team had your Sam Cane, TJ Perinara, Bowden Barrett would have played, and I'm missing there was a Whitelock in there. There was multiple All Blacks that kicked through, and from our team there was a couple as well that kicked through and become Wallabies, and you're sort of headbutting each other for the next 15 years.
That was that famous team, because often the under 20s might not translate to proper senior careers, but that whole All Blacks under 20s team pretty much went on to be like very, very good players. Was incredible. So you follow them and you're across those guys early and you kind of go on a journey.
Well, it's funny, because the whole time you're playing through your mid-20s, you know the guys who you're playing. So you review them, a couple of times, and then you're like, okay, I know what's coming. Yeah. And then you get to the back end of your career and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know half this team anymore. All of a sudden, it just magically, well, not magically, it happens by way of, guys go overseas, finish, retire, whatever. You don't know anyone anymore.
Time.
Or, sands of time. Or you're still looking up to the guys who you're playing against, and you grew up watching them, and then they go, and then it's the guys you play, and then they go, and then you're like, Slips right now. Slips is about to go into this Lions series, and he played with a guy that played in 2002.
Yeah.
And now, he played with Sharpie, and now he's playing with guys who are 18, like a Max Jorgensen, 19. So, he's spanned multiple generations, someone like that.
Slips, they wouldn't have had WhatsApp when he started. There would not have been the app.
No, there wasn't. No, there wouldn't have even been.
Big brick
iPhones,
phones.
like yeah. You still had to go to Africa. My first trip to South Africa, like guys were checking it and getting SIM cards.
Yeah,
You have to
right.
get the new SIM card when you hit South Africa. It's like Wi-Fi was like $30 a day. You know, so players are tight asses, so no one's paying that.
He Slips is slipping up the record tally. I think he's maybe now 4th or 5th most capped international player
That'd be
of
right,
all
right.
time. One thing I actually recently learned about you is you are the most sin binned or yellow carded player
Ooh.
in international rugby history, apparently, according to Wikipedia.
Big
I don't-
thug status.
Yeah, I don't remember a lot of
I don't remember you getting sent that
big,
much.
big shots or anything. Was it repeated infringements? Do you have a lot of memory of those 11 yellow cards?
Pair it back. I think it was 7.
7. Okay, all right. Wikipedia
I
line.
think I might have been overtaken by someone, but I definitely was the most yellow carded or tied the most yellow carded of some. Multiple infringements, a couple like just foul play moments. But yeah, like I don't think I got one yellow card for the Tahs.
Right.
Like, and I
It
played
was all international.
all international. So yeah, Aaron Smith hit him off the ball, yellow card. I tipped Brian Habana, tipped Etzebeth, and that was like almost same year. Like I had a bad run there, where it all
Well,
seemed
you were
to,
the bad boy of the game.
Oh yeah.
We
From
should have-
Manly, yeah.
We should have done more prep on this. I don't know. You know Roy Keane, the Irish Man United player who's like a noted hard man. They built that Roy Kent character in Ted Lasso off this guy. I remember they actually ran through all of his red cards and he's just like, he deserved it. He was fucking champion. No, I'd had it up to here with him. Fucking, you know what? He needed to cop at that game.
I got shown something of his that was hilarious. It was about the physios. So the physios, how they get off the bus and they've got the headphones in and they're like, he's going, you guys aren't playing, just relax. Just relax. Oh, it's just class.
He's awesome
He's
talent.
very funny, isn't he?
Hitting Aaron Smith off the ball and getting carded there. I wanted to know, how hard is it after another year goes by against the All Blacks and the Bledisloes staying across the ditch? Was there a point where you're like, all right, that's just the way it is sometimes and you get past it? Or are you salty like you were at the end of the Lions tour in 2013?
Oh, no, every time salty because you got to think in 2010 to, whenever I was playing, you could be that team that got it back. And if you beat them, you're beating the best team in the world, but they weren't the best team in the world. They were also one of the best, they were the best rugby team, but one of the best teams in the world at that time.
Yeah.
You know, football, you talk
Winningest.
any sports.
That was the only time I heard the word winningest.
Yeah,
Like they were one of the most winningest teams of all time.
That's right. So I would have loved to have played them as much as we could because if you win that, then you're like, you're beating, a generational team. And we never did. We drew a couple. It was bloody hard, but worth the try, So, salty every time. And it's now, we had a lot of 3-game series. Now it's dropped to 2, which some people say, well, it's harder now to win. And I don't think it is. Like you still got to.
You just got to win 2, right?
Well, well, you can draw one, win one, and you've got it.
Yeah.
With
really?
2 games, yeah.
Yeah, true, yeah.
So if you draw one win, then it's yours.
Yeah.
But if you win one each, it's going their way.
Yeah, just looking at the stats of Richie McCaw's like winning rates as captain are fucking crazy. Like 86% of every match he captained the All Blacks to they won.
It's
The great
disgusting. Yeah.
is Steve
Something.
Hansen, who was the coach during the time. You look at his record with Wales as the head coach before going to New Zealand, and it's crazy. It was I think he was like 30% win rate with Wales, or maybe even lower.
right.
Might have been even in the 20s, and then obviously with the All Blacks, it was
Maybe it was a
up
plan.
over 90.
Was he a sleeper cell for Wales? We've seen it before.
Yeah.
Anyway, mate, we've got Lions fever. I started this podcast singing a Wimble Way. Peter Fitzsimon's gotten to me. I am excited, and we can't make any predictions or whatever because this will come out on Monday and they've already played. But
2-1.
2-1.
2-1 to us. Yeah.
2-1. Yeah, okay. I feel that. Maybe I'm 2-1 too.
Yeah. Let's go 2-1.
2-1. Thank you for joining us, Hoops.
Thanks, guys.